A few weeks ago, we talked about the 3DS and what the eShop closer means for that system. In short, it doesn't mean anything because you should be able to just mod the system, get it up and running without any need for the eShop, so you'll be fine. You'll be ready to go for the foreseeable future. And the same situation is in place for the Wii U. In fact, modding the Wii U has actually become easier than the videos that I made on the system about a year ago. At that time, I expressed concerns that when the Wii U eShop went down, you would no longer be able to mod the system because modding the system was dependent on owning a legitimate copy of Brain Age on the DS on the Wii U eShop. And of course, if you couldn't purchase that, the idea was you probably wouldn't be able to mod the system. But the good news is, prior to the eShop closing for the Wii U, there became much simpler workarounds that no longer require you to purchase a game from the eShop, which means these methods should work for the foreseeable future. And these are permanent methods, not the temporary ones where you're loading up a web page every single time you boot up the system. Now, I want to preface this video by sharing some information with the people who do not yet own a Wii U. My assumption is that most of the hardcore Nintendo people who own Wii U's have either already intentionally modded the system because that's what they're interested in doing, or they intend to keep the system clean because they're a collector and that's just how they want to have it. So if you're somebody that wants to acquire a Wii U today, in 2022, with the eShop closer on the horizon, which again is not a big deal whatsoever, what you should know is that the Nintendo Switch has most of these games. Most of the Wii U games have been ported to the Nintendo Switch, so just the system on its own doesn't offer very much. There are better versions of these games, oftentimes available on other platforms, and it kind of sat in that Xbox 360, PS3 generation a bit, but it also sat in that Xbox One and PS4 generation. So when you compare a game that maybe came out on the 360, the Wii U copy might be better. The Batman games are an example of that, but of course there are newer Batman games that came out in a collection on the PS4 and the Xbox One that should be technologically better than the Wii U version. So the Wii U has very few definitive versions of these games for a while. Mass Effect 3 kind of had its definitive version on the Wii U, but that too has been replaced. So the console's library, as it stands on its own, does not offer very much. What the Wii U offers is its homebrew ability and the ability for it to play various games from older consoles via emulation, which is something I talk about on a lot of these systems when you're modding them, and it's definitely not the best system when it comes to emulation, with the exception of two main aspects that I think make the Wii U stand out and are why the Wii U could be an attractive thing for somebody to purchase in 2022. The first one is its Gamecube compatibility. While the Wii U out of the box is not compatible with Gamecube games, it does play Gamecube games when you have the system modded. Only digitally, you can't put a Gamecube disc into the Wii U disc drive, but a modded Wii U can in fact play Gamecube ISO files, and they play them very well. Because there's really just a true Wii system within the Wii U, it emulates them as perfectly as they did on the Wii, which isn't actually emulation at all. It's running on real hardware, I guess. And I say that in air quotes because I don't know all of the true tech speak to that, but they run basically exactly like you would expect them to run on a GameCube itself. And of course, that on its own isn't a big selling point, but the fact that you can play these games on the Wii U tablet, again, in the proximity of your home, because you can't take the Wii U tablet somewhere outside of your home like you can with the Switch. It's reliant on connection to that box that plugs into your TV. Gives the Wii U a very unique selling point that if you're a fan of GameCube games and you want to be able to play them on this little tablet, that's an awesome way to be able to do it, and in a way that they play exceptionally well. No crazy emulation. It's not like you're running them through Dolphin on an Android phone, which you could do. It would be more cost effective to get it on a small screen. But this is really a great way to play GameCube games. So I think it's worth purchasing it solely for that. At the price point they go for nowadays, I don't think so. I think you're better off using Dolphin on an Xbox Series S, which is a $300 brand new console that you could pick up at Walmart probably this afternoon if you wanted to, and play them that way via emulation, because that's pretty good emulation and can be done out of the box with an Xbox Series S. So price comparison wise, this is not a cost-effective way to play GameCube games. Either that, or if you're willing to hook up, your old component cables and use an older system, the Wii is a good way to play GameCube games as well, and it's a little bit easier to mod. The second thing is the ability to play DS games on your TV in a style that I think cannot be replicated any better than it is on the Wii U. Because the Wii U has this tablet screen and you have your screen on your TV, it gives you the opportunity to play something like Pokemon Soul Silver, where you have the bottom screen using a touch screen even being emulated on that tablet while having the top screen of the Pokemon game on your TV. So you're navigating the battle, you're seeing the HP and whatnot on the top screen while selecting the attacks on the bottom screen. And when you're moving around the overworld in these Pokemon games, you're just doing it on the TV. I think that the way DS games are portrayed on the Wii U and on the TV together is a really seamless experience that won't ever be replicated. Like, we'll never see that type of experience again, where you have the bottom screen of a DS game in your hand and you have the top screen on your TV. Oftentimes, when you're emulating a DS game on a computer, on a phone even, you're going to see both screens on that same display, and you're not going to get that true top and bottom view that you're going to have with the Wii U. I think that's a really cool selling point for it. But again, I don't think that that's enough to kind of get somebody to want to buy one of these systems these days at the price that they're currently going for. I just don't think that's justified, and I think that most people are going to be better off buying a Nintendo Switch, buying an Xbox Series S for $300 and spending a little bit more to get that, rather than spending all that money on a Wii U when the console just doesn't have that much to offer, in my opinion, by modern standards. Now I want to give you the good news on the eShop closure. People will tell you to rush to buy these digital-only Wii U games, or the DLC, which of course was digital-only in most cases, unless games had a definitive edition. This is a system that is going offline that has DLC, which in the past we didn't really have with something like the Wii. They'll tell you to buy the virtual console games, because those are going to be digital-only, and those are going to be gone. But the reality is, none of these things actually matter if you have a modded Wii U, because these games have been backed up, and these digital-only games even are loadable via a modded Wii U, as well as those virtual console games. There really is no reason to rush to try to purchase these, because it doesn't matter when you have this other option to access the games via having a modded Wii U. Now, the virtual console games are particularly interesting because, like I mentioned, the DS games, there was a limited number of those that were released officially for the Wii U. Pokemon Soul Silver, like I used as an example, was not one of them. However, there is a custom Windows tool that you can use on your computer where you can inject a DS game, a Super Nintendo game, a GBA game, whatever game you want, into the program. It takes the emulator that's being used in a real, truly released DS game like Brain Age on the Wii U, and it replaces that ROM that's in the one that's being sold on the eShop with your custom ROM, your DS ROM that was not officially released on the Wii U. It swaps those out, does some other things, changes some things graphically so it appears in the menu like it's a legitimate Wii U game that was released on the virtual console, so you get this awesome experience where really any game from previous Nintendo systems, including the Gamecube, can be added to your Wii U home screen to appear as a virtual console game. And the Gamecube, of course, wasn't even a system that had official virtual console support. So there's far more options with this Windows tool to do it yourself than to purchase this limited library of games from Nintendo. And of course, like we said in the 3DS video, the reason why all those games don't get released is because of licensing issues, and some of them we'll never see. One of the games that I played a lot on my Wii U was NFL Street, which I still play, ironically, on my Xbox Series S, the GameCube version of that, because that's a game I'm very nostalgic about and deeply enjoy and love having on these other platforms in a way where it plays very well, and that's the case with these virtual console titles. Now, there will be some hiccups, particularly with the DS games, when it comes to emulation via swapping these files out with the officially released ones, but I can tell you that in my experience, games like Soul Silver, Heart Gold, Platinum, those games work. The ones you really want to see if you're a Pokemon fan, those work, but then you get into some other titles and it's going to be a mixed bag. There is compatibility lists out there online. There may be compatibility videos, people show them running, but ultimately things like the Super Nintendo, original Nintendo, GBA, you're going to have a far better time with than something like the DS. If you've ever used RetroArch, you know that navigating its complex system of menus, regardless of what theme you're using, is a real hassle, kind of a pain, and the way it's presented in the Wii U menu on that tablet is so much cleaner to look at, looks so much better, and it's much more visually appealing. So if you're somebody that's really into organizing retro games and kind of having them in an all-in-one sort of approach, the Wii U might be that all-in-one system to put it in, just because it makes it into a nice package. But if you're trying to get the best performance for your buck on playing retro games, again, it's going to be the Xbox Series S for $300. I know I keep bringing that up in a video about the Wii U, but the truth is, the price of this system used today, unless it, drops significantly, isn't worth what it's going for. If you don't already own one, I really can't recommend you go out and buy one with how many of these games are available on other platforms, particularly the Nintendo Switch, which if you wanted those Nintendo games, those more recent Nintendo games, I gotta recommend you just get the Nintendo Switch instead of the Wii U. So regardless, the Wii U eShop is closing. People have talked about it for well over a month on YouTube, but the truth is, it's really not a big deal, and it's not a reason for you to rush out to buy a bunch of digital games for this platform. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey, and I'll see you in the next video.